According to Michael Scheuer, head of the CIA's first bin Laden unit from 1979 to 1989, about $600 million was passed through on Osama bin Laden's charity fronts. Most of it goes through the charity front, the Maktab al-Khidmat, also known as the Al-Khifa Refugee Center in Brooklyn, New York. The money generally comes from donors in Saudi Arabia and the Persian Gulf and is used to arm and supply the mujaheddin fighting in Afghanistan. Mohammed Yousaf, a high-ranking Pakistan ISI official, will later say, quote, "It was largely Arab money that saved the system," end quote. Since so much of the aid given by the CIA and Saudi Arabia was siphoned away before it even got to Afghanistan. Yousaf would later write, quote, "By this I mean cash from rich individuals or private organizations in the Arab world, not Saudi government funds. Without those extra millions by the CIA and the Saudi sympathizers, the flow of arms actually getting to the Mujahideen would have been cut to a trickle," end quote. Future CIA Director Robert Gates will later claim that in 1985 and 1986, the CIA became aware of Arabs assisting and fighting with the Afghan Mujahideen, and the CIA examined ways to increase their participation, perhaps in the form of some sort of international brigade, but nothing came of it. However, a CIA official would later be talking about involving Arabs in the Afghan war that will later claim that the CIA directly funded the Maktab al-Khidmat in Pakistan and Brooklyn. By 1986, Osama bin Laden begins providing financial, organizational, and engineering aid for the Mujahideen in Afghanistan with the advice and support of the Saudi royal family. Some, including Richard Clarke, the former counterterrorism czar during the Clinton and Bush administrations, believe he was handpicked by the job of the head of Saudi intelligence, Prince Turki Al Faisal. The Pakistan ISI want a Saudi prince as a public demonstration of the commitment of the Saudi royal family and as a way to ensure royal funds for the anti-Soviet forces. The agency fails to get royalty, but bin Laden, with his family's influential ties in the kingdom, is good enough for the ISI. Clarke will argue later that the Saudis and other Muslim governments used the Afghan war in an attempt to get rid of their own misfits and troublemakers. However, this multinational force later coalesces into Al-Qaeda. Journalist Simon Reeve will later claim in the 1999 book, The New Jackals, that U.S. officials directly meet with bin Laden in Afghanistan in the 1980s. He will write, quote, "American emissaries are understood to have traveled to Pakistan for meetings with Mujahideen leaders. A former CIA official even suggests the U.S. emissaries met directly with bin Laden, and that it was bin Laden acting on advice from his friends in Saudi intelligence who first suggested the Mujahideen should be giving Stinger missiles," end quote. The CIA begins supplying Stinger missiles to the Mujahideen in 1986. After the events of September 11, 2001, the CIA will state, quote, "Numerous comments in the media recently have reiterated a widely circulated but incorrect notion that the CIA once had a relationship with Osama bin Laden. For the record, you should know that the CIA never employed, paid, or maintained any relationship whatsoever with bin Laden," end quote. To this day, there is no direct evidence showing that the CIA had met with bin Laden or gave him money. However, there can be evidence and a good argument to be shown that the money that the CIA gave to the Pakistan ISI and to the Maktab al-Khidmat indirectly went to bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. In 1984, bin Laden moves to Peshawar, a Pakistan town bordering Afghanistan, and helps run the Maktab al-Khidmat. He takes over the organization in 1988.